Hi everyone, so this is what we're going to be making today. So it's got quite a lot going on in this card and quite a lot of stamps as well. So we're going to show you how we sort of compose this one. So we're using the Sunshine Skyline and we're going to use Pottery Petites, Terracotta Terrace, I can't get my words out, Summer Serenity, and then we're going to use a little bit of the Patio and Paving as well. So because it's quite involved, I've already started rubbing a little bit of ink around and putting the little words on. So this is from the Good Friends collection. And then I've stamped the little rocks in place, and I've made myself a little mask like this one here. So basically I'm going to cover these rocks that we've just stamped. So I can then just stamp over the top of these, and it's going to just keep them nice and clean underneath. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to create our little hill in the background. So bear in mind on this side here, we want to keep that fairly clear because we know we're going to be stamping our little card there. So the first thing we're going to do is create a little hill on this side. So a little bit of the bamboo ink on my finger, and I'm just going to start to rub down. And I'm going to remember actually to leave a little bit of space because I'm going to put the lantern in here. So what I'm going to do is put some colour in for that lantern first before we go any further with the green. And we'll perhaps get that lantern in before I go any further. So a little bit of the canary. And then we're just going to put a little bit of camellia, the red, just in the middle. So be quite sort of mean with this if you like. You want to just do it in stages, tiny little bits at a time. And then what we'll do is put the little lantern in before we go any further. So we'll pop that as if it's just sitting on the rocks there. So actually that's going to look like it's coming from behind those rocks when we're finished. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just carry on with this green. Let's create our little hill. So this is bamboo. So again, we don't want to go too far over this side because I want to remember to put in our little card. So I don't want too much colour behind there. So once I've got a little hill here, then all we're going to do is mask that out with the other side here. So we've just cut a piece of paper in half here. And I've put a little bit of the removable adhesive that's available on the website on there as well. And then we're just going to put a little bit more green on here. So not as dark as the hill that we've just done, but just so we've got a bit of shading just behind, because of course this is all hills and fields at the back here. And again, just remember not to put too much colour on this side. So we're concentrating on the right hand side of the card. Okay. So now what we can do is stamp our little bit of scenery. So we're going to use our little fence panel with our little stone wall. So we're going to use two colours on this. I'm going to use a little bit of bark first. I'm going to go all over the whole thing. And then with our pine coning, we're just going to edge around it to give us a bit of darkness. And then I'm going to take most of it over that fence panel there. So it's just going to make it a little bit darker and a bit more interesting and less flat. So let's pop this down here. So it's part on your card and part on your scrap paper here. And then we've just got the edge of the stone wall here. So we're just going to finish off that gate. Again, just a little bit of a darker colour on there as well. And we can pop that in here. So we're going to use one of the little bushes now from the Sunshine Skyline. But I want these to sort of look like they're behind this wall. So what I'm going to do is just off stamp it first, and then we're going to take it straight onto our work because I know it's paler. So just off stamp, and then it's behind. So there's our little wall, all in place. So now we can take this off. So now I want a clean mask. So basically we've just got another one here that we've done, and we're going to create our next skyline just in this top bit here. So this time we're going to have sky in there. And again, we're just focusing on this side of the card. So let's get some more green. I'm just going to shade downwards. It's always easier to shade towards yourself as well. And there's been some lovely creations on our new craft group. So well done to all you ladies who've made some beautiful cards on there. And it's lovely to see all the different inks and things as well that you're using. Okay, so there's our little hill. Now mask out with the other side, and then we can do the rest of the colouring at the top here. So now we want a little bit of yellow. So this is the canary. So you can see I'm just trying to speed this up a little bit by colouring the edges of the card already. So it's something that we just don't have to do, but it's done in exactly the same way that we're doing now. So just a nice bit of sky. And again, you can put a bit of colour on the other side, but don't focus too much on the other side of the card. A little bit of red. Okay, and that should be just about enough. So let's put our little trees and things in place now. So we're going to put the little tree house. So let's do 2 colours again. So we're going to use, oh, hang on a minute. Let's use a bark first. So all over. And then just pick up a little bit of the pine cone as well. Just like that. I'm going to stamp this right at the back here on this hill. So again, you're just stamping just over the edge of your paper as well. Now we'll do the tree house. We're going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to use my palest colour first. So we're going to go with the bamboo, and I'm going to do all the top like that. Don't be too fussy about this. It doesn't really matter that much. And then at the bottom, we're just going to add some brown, some of this dark brown pine cone, just to pick up the trunk, because it just looks much more effective. And let's stamp that up there like that. Okay, so you can just see that little swing on there is ever so cute. So let's get a few of the little trees now. So this one we'll do in exactly the same way. Bamboo at the top, and then a little bit of the pine cone at the bottom. And then we can stamp that at the side here. And then I'm just going to fill in with a few of these little trees here. So again, let's use the pine cone, but what I want to do is make them go into the distance. So we want them a little bit paler. So what we'll do is off stamp them, and then we can just pop these behind. So if you want them to go behind, just off stamp first, and then just take them into the distance like that. Okay, so that gives you your little background. Once you've done that, you can then take this away. So that is that side of your card done. So we're going to leave this in place, and what I'm going to do is do our little patio and paving mask here. So I'm going to take it part way up, so we're using some of the bigger paving. And we're going to use a little bit of brown, but I'm not going to use a really, really wet ink for this. So let's just take a little bit of brown. I'm just blending off the edge. So just be careful if you've only got really, really new inks to do it. Take some of the ink off first, maybe. Now, I do like it if you sort of just shade one side slightly darker than the other, because again, it just gives you a little bit of dimension. Also, as well, if you use a little bit of green, it tends to look a little bit mossy, which I quite like as well. So a little bit of green on there. Now, when you take it away, obviously you're going to have those white lines where your stencil has been. So what I tend to do is take that off, and then before we do anything else, we're just going to blend that in. So you can pretty much use any colour you want for this, but just blend that together like that to give you that illusion of the pavement in front. So the next thing we're going to do is put our little cart in. So we're going to use 2 colours again. So we're going to use pine cone. The thing to remember with this is because we're going to be putting pots on here, what I want is this to be really, really dark where it's going to cross those flower pots. And that way it's going to look like the pot is actually sitting behind the little flower cart. So again, I'm just picking up with the brown, darker brown. I'm going to go around, and I'm going to make sure this band here we've got completely covered in the dark. And that way any pots are going to look like they're behind. Okay, so remember, always use your palest one first. So we're going to go in and we're going to pop our little cart just on here like that. So it's going to look like it's sort of sitting in amongst those rocks. I cannot remember whether I inked that handle up or not, so we'll soon find out. If not, that's where a flower's going to go. Okay, oh yes I have. So you can see we've just got that handle a little bit darker. So we're going to pop some pots in, and I'm going to perhaps keep these a little bit paler. So I'm only going to put my shading, my darker shading, at the bottom. Just like that. And then we can pop that in. And then where it crosses that band, because the band here is so dark, it looks like it's in front of that pot. So the same with these, all over with your bark. a little bit of shading at the bottom, just like that. And then we can put a couple more little pots into place there. So let's do the tall one. Bark first. And then a little bit of the pine cone. And that can go about here. Okay, so now it's just a case of filling in with your little flowers. So we're going to have some little trailers coming down from the top. So just along that skyline edge that we've already coloured. We're just going to have a couple of these just trailing down. And we've got this lovely trailer here. So these are all those stamps that we showed you at the beginning. So let's just have some little trail. Again, it's just adding to that dimension as you work. Okay, so let's leave it there. And then what we're going to do, we're going to use the Pottery Petites and just put a few of these little flowers in here. So this is Atlantic that I'm using here. It makes a lovely sort of background. So if you sort of planning roughly where these flowers are going to go, then it just gives you a lovely sort of map for where everything else is going to go in there. So a few little flowers. So this is quite an old ink, so it's quite pale, but you still get some beautiful tones out of these. So I don't really ever throw them away. Okay, let's have a little bit of peony. So you can see, even though we've not got any hill or anything behind this, it really, really doesn't matter, because by the time you've finished all your little stamping, you wouldn't know that that hill wasn't behind there anyway. So there's also some little bees in this collection. So we can put a couple of little bees in. There's also a little dragonfly as well in amongst the set. So let's put some little green bits coming from down here. You can also use some of the others, all the little vines and flowers and things that are in there in this collection. But I don't want this to take up too much time. So we can peel that off. Now you could colour those in if you want to, it's entirely up to you. So let's get some little bees. Let's put a little bee in place here. Now you can colour these in as well if you wanted to, or put a little bit of colour on beforehand. Entirely up to you how you want to do it. Let's have a couple of those in, and there's a smaller one as well, a little solid one. So let's have that. Make sure I'm getting the right way around. Okay. And then we're just going to finish off with some liquid pearls. So we're just going to pull out the centres of these flowers, just like this. And this is basically how you build up your little scene. So it can be any of the sort of, or any of those stamps that we've got, but this is sort of the basics of how I build it up anyway. It doesn't have to be the same as me, obviously, but it's just a way that I find quite easy. Okay, a little bit of glossy accents on there. And that just is going to make that lantern look lovely, shiny and glossy. And there we go. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.